Hello and a very warm welcome to France 24's Euro 2020 show. The group stages are over and we will be looking at who plays who in the last 16, including England against Germany. Joining me to take a look at those fixtures and to look back at France's performance is Eurosport journalist Ruben Slagter. Ruben, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks again for having me.
Lovely to have you on. Well, let's start with France, who had already qualified and who struggled against Portugal in their final group game. 2-2 the final score, with 2 penalties by Cristiano Ronaldo and a brace for Karim Benzema, who answered his critics with a strong second-half performance in particular. Ruben, 2 draws and a win for France. What is your assessment of the team largely believed to be the favourites?
Well, you still get the impression that they can do so much better. I think that tonight, especially in the second half, you say it, Benzema, but also the whole team showed already another image of themselves, another phase of themselves. So that was positive for France, I think. At the same time, you're still asking yourself, why not a little bit more offensive? The second half, when Kingsley Coman came on, they finally played up front with 4 attacking players. That was already a lot better. So yeah, it's now... The tournament now will finally really start for the French. Same time, you can also say they won the group of death. They're happy with that. They will go now to play Switzerland in the next round. So it's maybe not that bad at all for the French.
Well, France, as you mentioned, perhaps not flamboyant, but still undefeated. And up next is Switzerland, a team they know very well.
Yeah, they played often against each other, don't they? So that's special. I don't know. Yeah, it's maybe they really want to play each other. Switzerland, we know them as a decent team, but not often winning against the giants. So I think that France will be happy to play them in the next round.
Well, in tonight's other match, Ruben, Germany left it very late against Hungary to qualify thanks to a draw. Leon Goretzka scoring the equaliser for the Germans in the 84th minute. The result means that the Mannschaft finish second and will now play England, with Portugal in third place, with a tough match to come against Belgium. Harsh on Germany, on Hungary rather, but Germany pulled through right when they needed to.
Yeah, well, okay, it was... We talked just before the match already, and we thought that Germany were odds-on favourite to win. To be honest, Hungary came quite close tonight. They played well, defended well. Germany didn't have many occasions, opportunities. So maybe this was their chance to get out of that famous group of death, the Hungarians. But okay, at the end, Goretzka scored that goal, and they're through. Hungary can go out with their heads up high, I think.
What needs to change for Germany as they now take on England, who haven't been, dominating in the way they have been, but very solid, the English side, and Germany perhaps still lacking that focal point up front?
That's for sure, and they're also not consistent enough. I mean, against Portugal, it was sensational. Against France, it was interesting. Tonight, I think they were quite bad, so... It's really... I'm really looking forward what phase of Germany we will see against the English. And it's also up to England to find a solution to that German play, because we've seen tonight that then when Germany has to make the game, they are in trouble. But the English, they probably also want to attack. So yeah, I think that can be a really interesting game.
We'll have to see how that one plays out. There were also 2 other games in Group E, with a wake-up of the Spanish national side, who qualified for the last 16 with a resounding 5-0 win against Slovakia, who are knocked out. But surprisingly, it is Sweden who top the group, undefeated, whereas Poland, and this is a big surprise, are out. Ruben, what are your thoughts on Sweden winning that group?
That's really special. I mean, that's the biggest surprise in this tournament. I think that Sweden, no big stars, a real good collective. So that's impressive. They will now play Ukraine. It's a great opportunity for them to go into the quarterfinals, which means that they will play the quarterfinals in Euro 2020, which they already got into in the World Cup 2018. With a team without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I think that the Swedish can be really proud of themselves. That's for sure.
And on the flip side, we saw Spain, it took them a long time to get into gear. 2 games. They finally did that. They blew Slovakia apart. What is your impression about the Spanish team?
It's getting better.
Who now face Croatia, of course.
Yeah, it's getting better. I mean, playing Croatia will be interesting as well, because we've seen Croatia also getting better into this tournament with their win against Scotland yesterday night. It's now waiting for that interesting match, and even if you look a little bit further, the winner of that match will play against the winner of France against Switzerland. I think that out of those 4, we can have maybe one of the contestants to really go all the way.
Well, we've teased our audience about those last 16, Ruben, so let us now take a look at the next stage of the competition with some cracking matches in store. There is a 2-day break before the first game on Saturday, the 26th of June, which sees Wales play Denmark. Italy then take on Austria at Wembley. Ruben's team, the Netherlands, will play the Czech Republic. Belgium will battle it out with Portugal. World Cup finalist Croatia play against Spain, as we've mentioned, who really came alive in that last match. France against Switzerland, a tricky one for the French. England, of course, versus Germany. And finally, Sweden against Ukraine. Ruben, if we look at these games, which one really jumps out to you as the must-watch one?
Well, historically, it has to be England against Germany. But Belgium-Portugal will also be really interesting to see how it will turn out. I think those two matches, also historically speaking, are interesting. It's also, of course, interesting how Italy will move on after their great performance in the first round.
Do you feel Italy have been tested enough at this point?
Not at all. And Austria, I don't see them testing them for the next round. But okay, it would be interesting if Italy can keep this high level. That's interesting. But okay, the big matches are England against Germany and Portugal against Belgium for sure.
And of course, if we look at particularly England and Germany's side of the draw, you would think that whoever wins that game could almost have a free run towards the final afterwards.
Yeah, as a Dutchman, I should say that maybe they can play against the Dutch in the semi-finals. But yeah, I think that both England and Germany will realize that this is a golden opportunity to go really far in the tournament. And yeah, the Dutch maybe as well. I mean, playing Czech Republic and then playing the winner of Wales against Denmark. For that side of we can say that side of the tournament is less hard than the other part. So yeah, they all will sense that there's something really special possible this time. Yeah.
Ruben, we've got a couple of minutes, so I'd like to talk about something a little bit different now. Just the Euro 2020 as a whole. We actually had a conversation saying that the new format with 24 teams is a bit detrimental to the competition. Sure. We saw plenty of teams qualify despite winning just one game. What is your assessment of the Euros so far?
Well, I'm really disappointed by the fact that there are too many teams. Maybe this is also because the last time we had a tournament with 16 teams, it was in 2012. There were group stages matches already between Italy and England, for Italy and Spain, for example. There was France against England. You want to see those matches, and afterwards you can also see that with all those teams. I'm sorry to say, but the less stronger teams gambling a little bit on going through with 3 points. I really had the strong sentiment that Ukraine, when they were losing 1-0 against Austria, they were like, okay, if we are not second in the group, we won't play Italy, and maybe we'll get a match against Sweden, for example, and look where they are. So it doesn't feel right that with this whole organization. You can also now say that, for example, Germany gets out of the group of death second, and their reward is to play against England. So it doesn't feel really right how this whole the tournament setup doesn't feel right, in my opinion. But okay.
Well, we'll have to see if the setup improves in the last 16. That's it from us. Ruben, thank you very much for that analysis and for joining us once again. The Euro 2020 show returns on June 26th with the last 16 games. Until then, stay tuned to France 24.